Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the rescheduled February 28th meeting. It is March 7th today. All commissioners are present with the exception of Commissioner Bayless and Commissioner Babbage. Do we have any adds or deletes?
We do. We're going to add 6M, N, O, and P, and we are going to remove 7D.
Okay, thank you. Any other adds or deletes? Any other adds or deletes? Hearing none, we'll move on to approval of the minutes of the January 24th, 2023 commission meeting. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes. Motion by Chair Hart, support by Commissioner Andrea to approve the minutes of the January 24th meeting. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Next item will be the citizens forum, number 4. Do we have somebody that wanted to
We
speak?
do.
Hello, sir. What's your name?
My name is Justin Juntonen from Duluth, Minnesota. Thank you for having me, Council. I was invited to Hibbing today for two reasons, for culture and for technology. I'm from Duluth. I'm a business owner there. I own a business called Cedar and Stone Nordic Sauna. Sauna is important here. I was invited on the culture front to speak to a local chapter of the Finlandia Foundation, specifically around all things sauna. That's in the water here. It's in the forest here. It's in our culture here in northern Minnesota. And additionally, I was invited on behalf of Luke Peterson to come tour the public utility. And I would guess, as somebody who has looked through the windows at public government, that's a fairly thankless job. And I'm simply coming today to say thank you for the great work you're doing. I'm really impressed. Our company is moving the needle hopefully forward with good design of beautiful built saunas shipped all over the country out of Duluth. And we're using a manufacturing type called CLT as cross-laminated timber as a production method for that. And in getting to know Luke and hearing what's happening here with biomass and circular economies around how do we use our forests well? How do we use the place in which we all love, both its culture and its resources well? I simply wanted to say, after a tour and sort of meeting the team and watching what's going on, thank you what you guys are doing. It's really moving the needle. I'm really interested in it. And for our company, we're sort of also looking at investing in how do we create more opportunity for this. We've created jobs in Duluth for that. We're thinking about moving towards even more CLT production for our structures. And those are things that are important, I would think, to a lot of the communities that we all live in, from Duluth all the way up to the Iron Range. So today, as a public comment, it's simply that. You probably are hearing more things about potholes in streets every day than you are about the good work that's been decided here, the work that's been done here. So thank you for it. We really appreciate it. And hopefully through Luke's leadership, their team, and your great team and decision-making here, that more of that can be done. I'm excited to kind of keep some conversations going that we're working on to keep thinking about how do we do more and more like that in northeastern Minnesota. But thank you for all your work, commissioners. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda, item 5, and first item will be approve invoices greater than $10,000. Approve the bills and ACH transfers dated January 21st through February 24th. Item B, approve the payroll paid and overtime report for the January 26th and February 9th and February 23rd pay dates. Item C, approve request for contribution to Hibbing High School all-night grad party in the amount of $100. Item 5D, Authorize grant application in the amount of $300,000 to the USDA Forest Service Community Wood Service Funding for ESP upgrades on boiler 4. Item 5E, authorize grant application in the amount of $1 million for USDA Forest Service Wood Innovations Grant Program. Item 5F, approve summer student temporary positions to be advertised immediately. Item 5G, ratify temporary hire of line department intern Charlie Carish. Item 5H, ratify transformer rebuild cost of $99,400 from PPC Industries for upcoming ESP project. Item 5I, authorize sale of excess Hibbing renewable energy capacity through the Mid-Continent Independent System Operator at seasonal capacity auction. Item 5J, approved letter to Virginia Public Utilities regarding the purchase of LEA ownership shares. Item 5K, accept Hibbing Public Utility transfer expenditures matrix 8/20/2022 to 2/28/2023. Item 5L, accept notice of retirement from Tom McGuire. Item 5M, approve letter of recommendation for grant funding of the Dillon project.
Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead, Mr. Gary.
Yeah, I'd like it to pull items I, J, and M, just for some small questions.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve the remaining items? Okay. I'll support that. We have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented with the exception of items I, J, and M. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. 5I, authorize sale of excess capacity to MISO. Paul, would you come up here?
Good evening, Chair Hart, Commissioners. This week, we have a deadline for March 9th to get this information to Minnesota Power to let them know what we would like to do to offer in our excess capacity. I believe the matrix is in there that shows in certain months we are long in our capacity. I just had a meeting with them this afternoon to kind of go over everything. We do intend on offering it in at a $0 amount, so we'll take whatever comes in on the auction for that. Last year, I believe it was at Cone, so the cost of new entry, so it's fairly high. Predictions this year, we're looking at somewhat lower is what we're expecting.
Thank you, Paul.
Do you have to make a decision that day?
Prior to that day, yes.
So there's no planning, I mean, do you have a scope of what numbers you might get to?
No, it's an auction, so no, we do not know.
But I mean, based on other auctions?
Well, last year, it can go anywhere from $80,000 up to $1 million, or anywhere in between. It all depends on who's looking for extra capacity, who is bringing in extra capacity from last year and entering it into this year because they held on to it from last year. And this also being our first time that we've done this, we do not honestly know. We've sent feelers all around, and no one has really given us a definite answer on where they're at on it.
Mr. Chairman, will you be kind of watching the bid as it happens, or right afterwards? Or I just want to make sure somebody's,
Well, I think it's a public action, the MISO bids for capacity.
Right.
Last year, I think, at the working session, they brought it up, it was as high as it's ever been.
Yes.
But we don't know what this year is gonna be.
Okay.
In the actual auction, to clarify, we have to get this information to Minnesota Power by the 9th. The actual auction happens on the 21st. And then it could be a month or several months after that before we find out what it actually clears at. just like December 15th, we were supposed to find out what we were credited at, what our SAC value was at, and how much extra capacity we had. We didn't hear for probably 2.5 months after that.
Okay. That's, can I get clarification on, like, this J
Okay.
also? On item number J, it's a letter to the Virginia PUC, and I guess I have a legal question on it. It's asking if he can make an offer of purchase of the stock, but with the purchase of the stock comes property, and I don't know that do we have the rights to buy property without approval of the council?
Chair Garrett, Commissioner Garrity, and members of the commission. So the utility would be buying the stock of the entity. The entity might own real property, so it's a little bit of an end run that in that capacity. But I think this specifically pertains to stock. So that entity, but you're not buying the real estate directly. You're only buying the entity itself or its interest in it. I understand your question because typically the utility can't buy property in its name alone, real property, without the council's approval. Here you're really buying, though, an asset that you already actually have an interest in because you own part of all the stock anyway. So you're not buying anything more than what you already have other than Virginia's interest in it. It's not like new real property that you're buying in. You're just buying Virginia's interest, potentially, of what you already have an interest in.
Okay, and I guess I just want to get that clarified. 'cause
Right.
I don't
Oh,
know how smooth.
you bring up an excellent point because I don't think anyone was thinking of it from that perspective, but the utility already owns
Half.
half. All you're doing is saying, we're gonna own it all, but we're just buying their stock up in it, potentially, if Virginia agrees to it. So it's not like you're buying new real estate that the council wasn't aware of. All you're doing is getting someone else's interest in something you already have.
Okay, I guess my point is, I'm not sure how smooth the sales will be or negotiation will be.
No idea. I'm not, haven't been privy to them, so I
So
couldn't
I
tell
just
you.
want to make sure that it gets,
Right.
there's nothing that slows it down.
I think if it was that somehow Virginia had a piece of real estate that Hibbing didn't have, I think your point is exactly right. We'd be going back to the council to ask for permission for that. But because you already own what you're asking for, you're just taking someone else's interest in it too. I don't know, and because you're really buying their stock versus a direct purchase of real estate, I think you're okay to at least make this offer. And if the negotiations go south or go differently, and where we think that there's something we need to go back on, we could always go back to the council at that point in time. But I think buying the stock in and of itself you're not divvying away from what your obligations are to the council with regard to this.
And I guess we don't know that stock is what they want to sell. You don't
No,
know.
I think he's just conveying this as a potential offer. I think he's had discussions with them, but that's as much as I know.
That's, so does it, our approval of the offer, shouldn't the offer be the ability to negotiate in case they turn that down? They work on something, a different venue?
So I believe it's to approve him to propose this offer is what that's my understanding as to what he's setting forth. He's just trying to draw a percentage in the sand, so to speak. We think it'd be approximately this amount of money and we'd pay you by this time. So he's asking for approval to make this offer. If in fact, I take it the way the general manager is proposing this, if he has different offers, they're gonna come back to the commission for consideration. That's how I take this.
So this is this offer only,
Right. If you were gonna, I think by allowing him to convey this offer, you're kind of opening up that he can negotiate in the interim, but until he gets another offer, unless they accept this one, he'll come back to you with that subsequent offer to say, is this acceptable to you versus what we had previously? You're not giving him authority to actually make the deal other than this proposed deal.
Mr. Chairman, can I just follow up with M.
Yep, absolutely.
M is just, I didn't see the grant application. None was in my package.
For M, this is just a letter of recommendation for the grant funding.
It might have been in the
But
additional
what's the
materials that
grant?
came today.
What's the grant?
It's just approval to get a grant.
Yeah,
For the project.
Okay,
the Dillon project would be making application for the grant. The Hibbing Public Utilities Commission would just be submitting the enclosed letter of support.
okay. I'll make a motion for items I, J, and M to be approved.
We have a motion by Commissioner Garrity, support by Commissioner Andrea, to approve the remaining items on the consent agenda, I, J, and M. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next, we move on to financials and risk management. Item 6A, receive an update on the 2022 year-end audit preparation work and adoptions for additional policy. Item A, Resolution 10-23, GSB 87 leasing policy, and item 6A, B, Resolution 11-23, regulatory deferred accounting. Hello, Russ, can you hear me?
Hello.
Hello?
Bethany's first.
Hello, I'm Bethany Ryers, and of course, I'm joined by Russ Ism to kind of go through an update to the audit prep services that we've been providing to Hibbing Public Utilities. So included in your board packet is an updated draft 2022 financial statements. And I would say we're probably 50% complete with the work that we're doing. There's still some accruals that need to be hashed out and some additional year-end governmental accounting standard adjustments that are needed. But for the most part, your cash and investments is reconciled through year-end. We've updated prepayments. We've done, actually, the biggest lift is closing out the open work orders to plant and service. And as we discussed in a prior board meeting, updating the useful lives of those assets to be consistent across the board and also in keeping with industry best practice. So your depreciation expense has been updated for that as we discussed in a prior board meeting in the memo that Russ had provided to you. If also, if you look at the income statement, you'll notice that administrative costs, general G&A, general administrative costs have also been allocated to the various business segments, utilities, so that you can kind of get a better idea of where each utility stands on its own. I wasn't going to go through this in a lot of detail. I know we have 2 resolutions we kind of wanted to talk to, but I'll just pause briefly to see if you had any questions on what we've done thus far or the draft financial statements that are in front of you.
Any questions from the commission? We don't have any questions.
Perfect. Then I'll move on to that first resolution, which is the adoption of a GASB 87 lease policy. So for your December 31st, 2022 financial statements, GASB statement number 87 related to leases would be effective. What this standard does is provides a standard definition of what a lease is and changes the accounting around leases. The big change is, whereas before you may have had a lease and you expense the lease payments as they were made, now you kind of, if you're a lessor, you might have a lease receivable and a deferred inflow of resources on your balance sheet. And if you're leasing an asset, you would have a lease liability and an intangible right to use lease asset on your books. So it kind of grosses up your balance sheet a little bit. It doesn't really impact your income statement, but it will change your balance sheet. Excuse me. So what we have, similar to a capitalization policy, we put together a lease policy to say, we only really want to record those leases that would have an impact to your balance sheet. Pardon me, just getting over a cold right now, so still have a lingering cough. So we have set a lease threshold of $100,000 for an impact on your balance sheet. Sorry. Russ, do you want to take over for just a second for me, please?
Sure. Yeah, so the, you know, you don't want to spend a lot of time on minor, what we call immaterial items. So having a cutoff of $100,000 will take care of some of those de minimis things that you really don't want to deal with on a regular basis. So what the resolution talks about is, first off, establishing the lease policy and then setting a limit of $100,000 for consideration of this GASB 87 treatment. Pretty common approach to again, minimize those minor items that, because there is a fair amount of work that goes into calculating these, and your finance staff will you know, save a lot of time by going through this without materially impacting your financial statements.
And it does also state, thank you so much, Russ,
Sure.
that you would be evaluating everything that's scoped out of the standard annually to ensure there's no material impact to your financial statements overall. It really is just a way to help eliminate some of the burden on your accounting and finance department and make sure your financial statements just really have the material important information included. Do you have any questions on the implementation of the new standard or what it would look like, or the policy itself?
Anybody? We don't have any questions, thank you.
Perfect. Then Russ can take it over to discuss the
Sure.
second resolution. Thank you.
All right, so the second resolution has to do with deferral of major expenditures as what we call regulatory assets. Now, regulatory assets are, it's an accounting standard that says you can incur certain maintenance costs today that you want to recover from your ratepayers in future years. And what the things that fall into that bucket are recurring type projects. For example, you see in the list, in the resolution, the wood system cleaning, coal conveyor cleaning, gas system maintenance, and boiler floor work. And what we're seeing there, by deferring those costs, we set up a balance sheet account, and then as you move ahead in a number of years, say the wood system cleaning is done every 3 years, you would include a third of that in your rates or your budget each year, and so on down the line for each project. That's why those areas are blank. They're to be determined. And so we identify these projects, $978,000 worth of work that's currently in construction work in progress. And if we follow the accounting standards for that, they would most likely be charged to maintenance expense in the current year. So another $1 million. And so we had recommended that these costs be deferred for future recovery. And so this is an accounting standard, Governmental Standard 62. And Governmental Standard 62 says if you want to do this type of accounting treatment, it has to be approved by the body that oversees the rate approval process for the organization. So in order to do this deferral, the commission would have to approve a resolution saying this is allowable. Otherwise, the cost would be expensed in the financial statements. So that's a requirement to do that, and that's why the resolution is before you here. if you have questions on that, I'd be happy to answer those as well.
Commissioner Garrett, do you have any questions? No. No questions, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, what will be the wish of the commission regarding item 6A, I'm sorry.
Make a motion for 6A.
I'll support that. We have a motion by Commissioner Andrea, support by Chairman Hart to approve item 6A. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion approved. Move item to item 6B, approve the 2023 and 2022 operational budgets.
I believe Bethany and Russ were going to present on that as well.
Was the second resolution to be approved?
We missed.
Chair, I think they're,
I assume the motion was to cover
both
A and B under item 6A.
Oh, my apologies. My apologies. Perfect.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
I guess I'm a little bit uneasy as to approving the 23 budget and 22 budget at today's meeting. I'd like to delve in it a little more. We got some major capital numbers that are being talked about. And I'll be honest, I need to be convinced that when we approve it in concept, that it's not automatically considered it's approved, so go ahead, we can start bidding it, because that's never been the intent, so. At this point, I'd like to table item number B to the next meeting or a future meeting.
Okay. I'll support that motion to table. We have a motion by Commissioner Garrity and support by Chair Hart to table item 6B, which would be the 2023 and 2022 operational budgets. Any further discussion?
you don't need discussion on a motion to table, you could just vote, Chair. Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
You don't need, no discussion on a motion to
Oh,
table, you
okay.
just vote one way or the other.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Next item will be item 6C, approve financing plan and March application to the Public Finance Authority. Steph?
Yes,
you wanna lead off on
so staff had been meeting with the city staff as well to discuss the pre-application to the Public Finance Authority for our capital water improvements that are planned for 2023. The resolution that's before you today is something that would be adopted by the Public Utilities Commission and then also at the City Council at their meeting on the 15th. I just want to reiterate again, this is the pre-application. There's multiple steps in getting to the point where you submit final application for PFA funding. So that's, the estimate for the loan amount that's included in the resolution is just that, an estimate. Until these projects actually go out to bid, we won't have a final dollar amount. This is a template resolution as well provided by the PFA. We had met with their staff as well. So typical, again, of public utility commissions and city councils to adopt similar resolutions.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Garrity?
Yeah, can I get clarification, please, as to what's in this 13.7?
Sure, those are just estimates for the 2023 water main distribution replacement projects. There's 3 of those that are proposed for this year, and then for the improvements at the existing water treatment facility. So those were both estimated at about $6-ish million, the water main capital improvements for this year, and then for the water treatment facility.
Those 3 items were the 6 million. they were approximately 6 million.
Right, yes, we haven't gone out to bids yet, but with the estimates that we've received to date, based off of the planned work, the construction plans aren't at 100% completion yet. So with where we're at today, that's approximately what the improvements for 2023 would cost.
Okay, and I guess Mr. Chairman, my problem with it is, and it's not a problem, it's just clarification, is making sure that our application is for the south waste treatment plant, for the, what do you call it, the filtration.
Yes,
And also, we have to be looking immediately at the Cary Valley filtration plant. And those are like 4 million and 5 million each. So I don't see how they fit in with the 7 million total that's on your list of three other projects. You know, the water treatment plants are gonna be one-time projects, which are very important because of the loss of the use of the Scranton, but, I guess I don't want to give anybody any false hopes that this money is going to come and we can borrow it and it's an easy fix. Because it's not going to be. It's going to be expensive. And the council, you know, they have to go and guarantee this, because this is going to have to be I'm sure it's going to be a geo revenue bond.
yes.
So that's the other projects I have a problem with as being the priority. I think it's the treatment plants, and the other ones are just, you know, once the treatment plants are there and we got our situation stable, you know, in case Hibbing Taconite, well, whether Hibbing Tac shuts down or not, at least we have the water. But then I'm not sure how you prioritize the legs that are part of the current system in order to get the water moved around. And granted, I understand these may have some problems, areas, but are they the number one and number two problem areas for the whole system?
Sure, yeah, in the capital improvement plan that was approved earlier in the year had summarized the issues in the distribution system, and we do have one of our engineers here from Bolton and Mink that's going to present later on, you know, recommendation on authorization for advertising for bids, and I think that that would be a good opportunity to get a summarization of priorities for the water capital improvement plan for distribution mains that are being replaced.
I guess I just want to make sure, I'm not against it, I think it's something, the south waste treatment plant has been, or not waste treatment plant, water plant, that's been in to be potentially part of the bonding bill for the last 7-8 years, I think. So it's like, can the state help fund it with the loss of HIBTAC, or the potential loss of HIBTAC, putting us under the gun here? That helps, you know, make it a stronger position for it, but still, when it all gets said and done, we're only gonna do what we're gonna do, and it's I think the proper, in my opinion, is that we approve the resolution to go forward, pass it on to the council to back it up, to make sure that they're gonna be backing it up at their meeting, and then start looking at what can be done in a reasonable time period. Because we're already at risk for this year's construction. So I just want to make sure that it's the main filtration plant that are needed, and then I think further discussion as to which one, what laterals go in with it. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. What will be the wish of the commission?
Well, I'll make a motion that we approve the resolution to go to the council, but we don't, that doesn't authorize anybody to be spending money to,
No.
you know, to do any of the projects at this point.
Second?
We have a motion by Commissioner Garrity, support by Commissioner Andrea to approve the financing plan and March application to Public Finance Authority. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Mr. Chairman, can I? Just, could I ask that we give authority to the general manager to get application to the legislators? We have new legislators now. So I don't know that they know that these are projects that we had in there down, you know, for, to try and get into the bonding bills. It doesn't hurt to send them down and get it, make an attempt.
Yep. Yeah, I agree.
So if I can, for the treatment plant, for the water treatment plant for both the north, or the south, and the Cary Valley, and these other projects, and see what, they can put them into the bonding bill, or get some legislative relief.
So we voted on the motion, or is this another separate?
I think it should be a separate motion, so it's,
Okay.
the commission is on record as saying this is priority.
Okay. I would support Mr. Garrity's recommendation. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, we'll move on to item 6D, approve the sale of the 2017 Komatsu loader to the highest bidder. Stephanie?
So city staff had solicited quotes for, received bids for selling our loader that was declared surplus equipment at a previous commission meeting. We received 4 bids, and the highest bid was at $150,000, and we'd like to make a recommendation for the commission to approve the sale of that loader to Rich Lee's Rentals.
Thank you. Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the sale of the loader to the highest sealed bid in the amount of $150,000. Is there support?
Support.
We have a motion by Chair Hart, support by Commissioner Garrity to approve the sale of the Komatsu loader in the amount of $150,000. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, next item will be item 6E. Award public bid 2023-12, pipe fitter services for summer outage to Heckovich Mechanical Contracting. Paul, do you have anything to add?
We did have, good evening, Chair, Commissioners. We did have several pipe fitters come into our plant. We did take 2 bids in, and because of the relatively close proximity of both bids, one came in at $127,000, the other was $130,000. We did do the extra legwork and ask for materials comparison and an exact breakdown of what all of those quotes entailed. So at this point, we'd like to recommend that it be offered to the lowest bidder, which is Heckovich Mechanical.
Thank you. May want to stay there.
I'm
You're
just
you're
gonna
up the next 3 times, so. We are looking at the public bid in the amount of $127,000 and $127,055, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the award to Heckovich Mechanical in an amount not to exceed $127,000, $127,055. Is there support? Okay. We have a motion by Chair Hart, support by Commissioner Andrea to approve the item 6E, pipe fitter services, summer outage. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Move on to item 6F, award public bid 2023-14 pipe fitter services for calendar year 2023 and calendar year 2024. Paul, do you have anything to add?
We did go out for all of our bids. You'll see later in the commission agenda that there are blanket quotes. This one is separate from those because the closing date on it was different, so we felt that it deserved its own line item. It did come in at the low bidder for Heckmovich Mechanical for the following, this year, the remainder of this year and into 2024. So at this point, we'd recommend going with the low bidder of Heckmovich Mechanical.
Thank you, Paul. I'll make a motion to award public bid 2023-14 pipe fitter services for calendar year 2023 and 2024. The amount will be per the time and material rates listed on the proposal for 2023 and 2024. Is there support?
I'll support.
Motion by Chair Hart, support by Commissioner Garrity to award pipe fitter services to Heckmovich Mechanical. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item 6G, we're going to receive an update on the 2023 Hibbing Renewable Energy Center capital project and budget tracker. Paul?
Also included with the commission agenda, you can see here, it's kind of a two-page flowing document. That's where we're at with the projects that we have scheduled for this next year. Obviously, this is a working document. We are adding things and updating things on a daily basis as we get in quotes, change orders. However, I'm glad to say we do not have any change orders yet. One of them was misplaced in the columns here. And we are right on track with our current maintenance and the plans that we have in place.
So thanks for the update. I don't know that we need a motion on this at all. So. Thank you, Paul.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to item 6H, authorize pre-construction engagement with Rice Lake Construction Group for purpose of construction management at risk for the saltwater treatment plant. Ms. Dickinson, do you have anything to say?
I guess I'll just summarize that Chair Hart, General Manager Luke Peterson, Brian Golden from Bolton and Mink had met with two different companies to hear their proposals and rate their ability to be the construction manager at risk for the saltwater treatment plant improvements. And enclosed in your packets is a tally of the points from each of those interviews, and I believe that based off of those tallies, there was a recommendation that was prepared to hire Rice Lake Construction Group of Deerwood, Minnesota.
Okay. Okay, so, yeah, I sat in on this interview process with Rice Lake and Magany, and they're both, they would both perform the work for us, I'm sure, just fine. And as we can see from the scores, the Rice Lake Group did score higher. They have more experience in construction manager at risk projects versus Magny. But I'm kind of at a dilemma here. Magny does a lot of work in the Northland, whereas I haven't seen the Rice Lake Group up here much. So, but I did store Rice Lake Group higher just because of their experience, so. With that being said, what will be the wish of the commission?
So Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
Is the financial commitment to go forward at this point 6,200?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Also move that we award it to him.
To Rice Lake?
Pardon me?
To Rice Lake?
To Rice Lake, I'm sorry,
Okay.
for 6,200. That's,
I have a motion by Commissioner Garrity, support by Commissioner Andrea, to approve Rice Lake Construction as the construction manager at risk. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next will be item I, authorized purchase of a Komatsu WA 270-8 loader in the amount of $214,340. Ms. Dixon?
Well, I have good news. We received an updated touch base with the vendor, and previously in the meeting, we obviously had approved the sale of one of our loaders, and we were looking to have a loader that was able to be used by multiple work groups here at each PUC. And the loader that we had spec'd out, the state bid price actually went down. So first quarter price is actually $210,388.66. So I'd like to make the recommendation that the commission consider authorizing staff to move forward with that purchase. And included in the purchase as well, this was just a standout compared to other models that were researched. The RMS, the vendor that we'd be working with, includes with this model a really good warranty plan, and then also Komatsu Carrot's additional maintenance that they're willing to come to us and serve locally. So those were definitely two items that would be helpful just to make sure that we keep our fleet moving.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
Can I just ask her a question, please? Are you aware, do they give any kind of safety and training
They will,
with
yes.
this?
Yes, yep. They'll come and onboard the piece of equipment with any staff that would like to be available for that training.
Okay, it's very critical. It's a
Yes.
confined space down there, and so.
Yes, yep, I agree, definitely. No, that's one of the things that was nice with working with a local vendor like this as well, as they were willing to accommodate the utility in any way needed as they were onboarding the new piece of equipment.
Thank you.
Good.
I'll make a motion, we award it to the Komatsu for $214,340.20. Did I get the number right?
Yep,
Wrong?
perfect.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Gary, support by Commissioner Andrea, to approve the purchase of the Komatsu loader in an amount not to exceed $214,340.20. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Item 6J, award public bid 2023-13, the installation of a permanent pit scale. Mrs. Dickinson?
I'm going to defer to Paul Plumbaum, please.
Chair, Commissioners, as we come up on May here, that is the end of our variance permit for our temporary scale that we have at our yard now. We've discussed numerous times in the past that it has been of benefit to us, as are the wood trucks coming in and weigh anywhere from 19 tons all the way up to 33.5 tons. So we're getting quite accurate feed measures into our boiler. At this time, we do feel that it's a necessary addition to our plant, and the recommendation is to go with a permanent pit-type scale, which would be more accurate and have a lower profile on our yard. So we would recommend going with the low bidder of Northwest Scales Incorporated at $198,000.
Thank you, Paul. So for clarification, the second bid was $438,000?
So we're recommending going with the buy one, get one free option. But we took them, the bids side by side. We had our engineer that we have from Bar here look at the bids. They are completely identical.
Okay.
And I did call up, we asked for references from both companies that were on here, and we called them. They said they love working with Northwest Scale. For clarification, we do have Prairie Scale, which is the high bidder there. They did say that the reasoning they feel that their bid was higher was that they went with a local contractor to do the dirt and excavating and concrete work on there, as the other company has their own L2 contracting for it that goes along with the company.
Thank
I'm
you.
not sure if that justifies another $250,000, but
It happens.
yeah, we had originally budgeted for $250,000 because that's kind of what we were sitting at. So maybe the one was trying to buy in and the other one thought they had us as a permanent customer. I'm not sure, but we can't justify spending twice as much money on the same scale.
Sounds good, thank you. I'd make a motion to award the scale installation to Northwest Scale in the amount not to exceed $198,000. Your support? Support. We have a motion by Chair Hart, support by Commissioner Andrea to award the scale quote to Northwest Scale. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Next item will be item 6K, approve plans and specifications and advertisement for bids for the 2023 capital water main improvement projects. Mrs. Dickinson? Oh, wait.
We have a guest.
My name's Josh Steer. I'm with Bolton and Mink. I've been helping Brian Golden manage the design and of these improvements. Just to summarize how we got here, a colleague of mine, Adam Nix, was here in January to get approval to proceed with design. We're at a point where we're looking for approval on the plans and specifications, as well as authorization to seek bids. Here tonight because we're looking to go out to bid sometime in late March. There is a 3-week bidding window, and then we're looking to open bids sometime in mid-April, and eventually award contracts at the April commission meeting, which will allow us to begin construction then in May. So, given the size of the improvement projects, it's critical to get on that May construction timeline so we can get all the improvements wrapped up in 2023. Just to recap, there were 3 separate projects. We are looking to bid them individually, not as one package. The goal with that is to get more competitive bids. Smaller contract size will solicit more bidders as well. So, just to recap too, so the projects were selected based on the CIP that we developed in 2022. Most of the water main on these projects is at least 100 years old, and we're looking to replace about 8,600 linear feet of water main, which equates to about 2% of the overall system. So right now, the engineer's estimate is around $6 million for all 3 projects combined. If the commission had any questions, I'd happily answer.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah, Mr. Gary.
this is a group of projects that I have a problem with. I just want to make sure that we're farther along before we call for bids on this. It's not fair to the contractors. You know, I think Luke told me was 2% of the system. Well, that's fine, it might be 2% of the system, but it's $7 million. And we need the treatment plants, up and running first. So it's, till we know the status of the funding. And it could be at the next meeting or the next, in the next 6 weeks, if we can get solidified information as to how much we can do. But I don't think it's fair to have a contractor bid on the projects and go ahead with these kind of renovations at this point, prior to the fixing of the water treatment plant for the, to relieve the problem by HIBTAC. So I really would like to just not do anything on this action at this point. I think it's a little bit premature,
Sure.
and,
I mean, there's no financial commitment to authorize for bids, and even if we solicit bids and receive bids, there's still no financial commitment at that point. The reason for my attendance today to get the approval is we have that 3-week window. We're looking to stagger the bids, so we're doing 3 individual bids is what we're looking to do. And so if we stagger it, the guy that gets the first one could potentially sharpen his pencil and say, hey, I want the second one or even the third. And so to stagger it, you end up with 4 weeks. With a 4-week window between commission meetings, it doesn't give you the flexibility to do that and come to commission in April to potentially award the contract.
I guess, Mr. Chairman. Yep. No action at this point does not hurt the projects.
Correct.
It just delays them, and because we got to get the priority on the numbers, on the money involved first, and that's not downplaying the problem areas, but the affordability is a bigger thing. So I'll make a motion, we accept and place on file this letter from this gentleman. We'll bring it up at a future meeting.
Yeah, we certainly could come back at a future meeting.
Do you have any specific questions that I may offer to help with as well, Commissioner Garrity?
I didn't hear what she said.
Do you have any other questions for her?
At this point, no. I think it's too soon to make this approval.
Are you waiting for the rate analysis to be completed, or what portion of the funding are you concerned about?
I'm waiting for people to apply for the job, the funding, and get an approval from the council, because we can't go forward without anything like that anyway. We've done that already to get the machine working, but putting more money, throwing more money out there at this point, I'm not convinced these are the 3 priority items that we can afford to pay.
We were awarded during the pre-award process through CDBG, the St. Louis County program, for $300,000 to offset the cost of specifically these projects in 2023 to be bid. So that would help some, and then we'll also be working with other local funding grant opportunities, and then analyzing the current rate structure as well to make sure that these projects are affordable for our ratepayers.
So I got a clarification. Is this would this go out as 3 separate quotes?
Correct. It would essentially be 3 separate projects.
Okay. And I guess, I hear what Mr. Garrity's saying, but I got some concern because one of these projects is supposed to coincide with the redoing the streets at the city. And I'd hate to just shoot them down or delay them or do anything like that.
Okay.
Yeah, Chair, I believe it was the Minnesota Street one, if I'm not mistaken, was going to be coordinating with
Yep.
the city. That was my recollection anyway.
I think it was the 18th Avenue one.
Was it?
So the city's looking to mill and overlay 19th Avenue, we're going out into 19th Avenue to connect on to the water main.
Okay.
So the goal was to disturb it, and then they come back and pave, and you'll have a nice,
You'd be
smooth
done.
pavement mat.
And to your concern, Mr. Gary, I mean, we can reject any proposals we get, but we may want to keep the process moving forward.
The fact that they're working together, going with one of them at this point, that makes sense, but that relieves $4 million worth of money commitment at this point.
Yep.
That's, so I guess I'll change my motion and just, or withdraw my motion and just authorize the go-ahead on getting the engineering done and the process going on the Minnesota Street part.
We've got the engineering done, we're just looking to go for public bids.
And that's what,
Yep. Which we can reject any one of them or all of them,
that's correct.
so. Right. Yeah, I would make a motion that we move forward with the process as it's presented, so. Any other discussion? I'm sorry, we supported it, Mr. Andrea. Okay, any other discussion? No. Okay, we have a motion to move forward with this item as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, the next item will be item 6L, award annual quotes for the 2023-001 through 2023-0011 calendar years 2003 and 24. Anything to add to this, Paul?
Just that, again, I'd like to reiterate that this is for a 2-year quote for all of the bidders in here, and it goes anywhere from snow removal to millwright work to piping installation to our water digs. It's all attached in the matrix within our commission package there.
For clarification, is it just 2023 or is it both 2023 and 24?
They should all be the rest of 2023 and 2024.
Okay. All right. Are we taking these individually, Mr. Borland?
Well, unless you have a slate where you're accepting each one of, I take it, Luke, sorry, Paul, that each one of the yellowed are the recommended ones for each, is that correct?
Yes, sir, the yellow are recommended, and I think there's a star asterisk, and on the last page it says accepted quote. And I do apologize, Chair, the title on it does say 2023, it should say 2023 and 24 on there.
Okay, so Chair, unless you have a consensus that you want to accept the recommended amount, ones in each one, otherwise I think you need to take them individually. I noted under the gravel, there's actually a recommendation for 2 to use either Cabina or SBS.
Yeah.
I think because of what they can offer, but, so if the commission wanted to accept the recommended amounts, and contractor per what the staff has come up with, I think one motion would be sufficient. If you have concerns with regard to any of them, then I think you take them individually.
Thank you for the clarification.
No problem.
What will be the wish of the commission?
Let's accept the recommendations. That's, I'll make a motion that we accept the recommendations. It goes from, the first one is PO 23007 down to, and they do jump out of order, but down to 23014.
I would support that motion. So we have a motion by Commissioner Garrity and support by Chairman Hart to approve the vendors for the 2024, 2023, and 2024 year. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Okay, next item will be 5M.
6M?
Oh.
6M.
No, I'm sorry, 6M. Authorized repair and modification of cooling towers by Precision Cooling Towers in the amount of $45,544. Paul?
This past winter, as you'll recall, these cooling towers are not that old. We had them installed in the fall of 2021. We were experiencing extreme icing of our cooling towers. Despite operator adjustments, we did have chunks of ice that fell off and damaged some of the fiberglass louvers that are on there. They are not affecting the operation at this point, but they do need to be replaced. At the same time, the annual inspection was taken or done in January. And when they were here, they noticed that the entire inside of that cooling tower, the PVC piping was scaled. They have a report, I think it's included in there. If not, I can get you the report. They said that there's spray nozzles in there and those nozzles are plugged. The only way to fix that is they have to cut the PVC, unplug each individual PVC run, put a clean out on the end, so if we want to clean them out on our own, we can do that in the end and move forward from there.
Okay. Thank you. What will be the wish of the commission?
Make a motion. Oh, is there a question?
Oh, what's that?
Do you have a question?
Oh, go ahead.
Make a motion to approve.
Okay.
I'll support.
We have a motion by Commissioner Andreas, support by Commissioner Garrity to authorize the repairs to cooling towers to Precision Cooling on the amount of $45,544. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 6N, ratify for a economizer rebuild cost of $815,812 from Stack Brothers Mechanical for upcoming biomass boiler outage. Paul?
If you look on the blanket quote, Stack Brothers Mechanical is our lowest bidder for the Boilermaker services, of which this was part of the scope in the public bid when that was sent out for bidding. It was originally budgeted at $900,000. Last year, Stack Brothers also did the work on replacing 1/3 of our economizer. This portion that they're now gonna complete will replace the other 2/3 of that economizer. This was the economizer that originally they had bypassed when they had leaking problems, and they're gonna go in there and pull the whole side of the boiler out and recondition it with new tubes.
Thank you, Paul. Okay. What will be the wish of the commission?
I'll make a motion that we approve the $815,812 from Stack Brothers Mechanical for the biomass boiler.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Garrity, support by Commissioner Andrea to approve the economizer rebuild cost in the amount of $815,812 to Stack Brothers. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item 6O. Mrs. Dickinson, do you have anything to add?
I do, I'll just add that we're just asking the commission to approve calling for public bid for the dig prep and restorals for this construction year, and also 2024, if the vendors are willing to submit that bid as well. Typical restorals for dig surfaces where we've had water main breaks or anything else in the public streets, sidewalks, driveways, et cetera.
So this is just the authorization of calling for bid?
Correct.
Well, I also move to authorize it.
And I'll support that. We have a motion by Commissioner Garrity and support by Chair Hart to approve calling for public bid, dig prep and restoral. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item 6P, purchasing 10 megawatt turbine for pulling pumps.
Chair, Commissioners, recently we came into an opportunity that we felt needed to be brought to the Commission's attention. There's a technical memorandum from our engineer from Bar Engineering. We have a turbine number 6, which currently can produce 6.6 megawatts. What they're offering us is, this has all the spare parts that would be identical to the turbine that we have for a much cheaper price than buying them brand new. So if you look at, one of the bigger concerns is that the generator that we would be buying is a much more robust generator, and it's also the exact same maker as our other 2 turbine generators for turbine number 3 and number 5. This turbine that we have in service right now is currently, the turbine rewinds, they can go about 25 years, and then you're kind of on borrowed time after that. So we're 3 years beyond that. And once those turbines, or the generators, need to be rewound, they can cost anywhere from $250,000 to $500,000 just in cost to get that rewound, depending one way or the other. It also has lube oil systems, Bentley, Nevada controllers that would be interchangeable with what we have now and would be an upgrade from what we have. And there is the actual turbine portion of it is a forged turbine. It would not be ideal for what we have right now, but Omen Pumps did say that they would help us for the sale of that turbine itself to another entity.
Could you repeat that last part? What, sale to another entity?
So we could potentially take that turbine that's in there that would not work with what we have.
Yeah.
So how it is he's not willing to part out this turbine, because then he has to sell all the other parts to someone else. He's willing to let us buy it, and then he would help us sell the actual turbine blading with the roto and Curtis stages on it to another entity.
Okay, so for clarification, we're after certain parts and the generator?
And the generator and the lube oil skid that comes with it as well. And the Bentley Nevada, the vibration monitoring system that we ran into problems with turbine 5. This would be the upgraded version of turbine 5 and turbine 3 for that.
So the vibration monitoring system would be for the whole thing, the turbine and the generator, that
Yep.
would be salvaged?
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's an entire package. It's the turbine, the auxiliaries, the gland seal, the throttle, the lube oil.
Has this been going on in negotiations with them for a while, or just came up?
They
or-
came up, we met with them last week over this. That's why it's a change order on the item on here, and not on the straight agenda. And he wanted to know if we wanted it, otherwise he's gonna move on to the next available buyer.
Who did negotiating for the price?
That's the price that they came up with on that.
Oh, really?
It is, yes.
Interesting.
we put it off for 2 weeks?
What's it?
Can we put it off for 2 weeks to make sure it's reasonable?
I don't know. I don't know if they're gonna move off to the next buyer.
And the timeline on that is that they have to get it out of the paper mill where it's at, so it needs to be moved. And they don't want to move it and store it and then sell it and move it again.
Well, Chair, I had a question. So
Mr. Borland.
normally we have an informational meeting next week, right? I realize we're kind of gotten off schedule. Are we still having the informational meeting next week?
Correct.
So is there, and I don't know, maybe you don't know the answer to this, Paul. If in fact it was tabled until next week and there was just one action item next week to take up this issue, to give, maybe the general manager will be back and maybe the other commissioners, if you didn't want to field it tonight because of its size and scope. But I'm just offering that as a potential, because it is an open meeting next week. It just normally you don't take any action at those.
Right, yeah.
Just offering it as an option there, if you're not entirely comfortable with proceeding on it tonight.
Well, I mean, I think it would save the utility money in the long run versus purchasing new. You know, if everything worked out well, I don't know what the supervision process of that is as far as demolition, transportation, accepting it. But there's no doubt these parts are expensive, so. How do you feel about it, Paul?
I think it's a good deal if you're looking at the long-term future of the utilities. I mean, I'm a frugal person, so I don't like, you know, when we're spending full price on things. We just met with another guy, a valve, I guess, agent, if you will, and he sells refurbished valves, and that appeals to me because, you know, if you can get something that works correctly and it works ideally with our system, it makes sense.
So did we visit the site and look at it, or?
We have
somebody-
not visited the site and looked at it. Bill Poulter and Jim Omen did look at it.
Omen Pump looked at it. They
Omen
know.
and Pump has it, and Bill Poulter used to work for Minnesota Power, who works for Omen Pump.
Has Omen Pump been doing the maintenance for this company, Sapke?
He said they have not been doing the maintenance, but it's been laid up since 2016, and they've had it on an air dryer since then.
How about the parts we can't use? Is there any value to them? I mean, a known value?
I don't know off the top of my head. I'm sure there is a value to them, the parts that we don't use. I know the turbine, I'm not sure exactly the value on that. I mean, it could be anywhere from 50,000 to 100,000. I'm not 100% positive on that. I've very little experience in selling turbine parts.
I think the parts, you know, if the quality is there, I think it'd be worth it. If there's any, is there any information backing the age besides the life expectancy left of the equipment?
I can get you that information. He did send another spec sheet comparing our turbine to their turbine. It was just typed up in this memorandum, but there's a side-by-side comparison of what we currently have to what they're offering. And it does have the graphs along with it as well.
I think what we could do too, just to help move along the recommendation as well, is that considering we do have the meeting next week as well, it may be advantageous to have the commission give conditions that they'd like staff to follow up with. We can table the item and follow up, give feedback to the commission with the items that they're concerned about. And we can also follow up with General Manager Luke Peterson as well. We're able to call a special meeting outside of our work session as well to begin immediately prior or right after our work session as well, if we don't want to take action in the work session.
The general manager wanted to let me know that he thought tabling it till next Tuesday is fine.
So that wouldn't affect another week?
I can reach out and hopefully it won't.
Okay.
And if we could get a summarization of them conditions as well that you'd like us to follow up on, that would help us be able to come with a presentation at the next meeting.
Can I ask, what's the negative part of putting it off to a week from now?
I mean, to be honest, the negative part is he sells it to someone else, but I think we, being a small municipality, would have some weight in that, and I think if we asked nicely, they would agree to that. I mean, we could, they're close by too, they are local, so we can have them come to that meeting if you want.
I feel like I should apologize to the guys in the audience, but this came to us just recently, so we haven't had much discussion on it. And we're weighing here whether we should delay it or just move forward with it. So please bear with us. I don't know. I'm sure if we reach out to the seller and ask for a couple-week delay, I think they'd be okay with that. So,
Yes, I can do that.
all right.
And then as Stephanie said, if you could also get us a list of your wishes that we'd also like to address with him, if you want him to attend the working session.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe we'll have to change the working session to a regular meeting next time, and it is what it is.
At least for that, maybe that item.
Or is there another option?
So, Chair, I think you could have your regular meeting and then, and just, so for, say, public access, if people want to see your votes.
Yeah.
And to say, okay, and the rest of this meeting is now informational.
Yeah.
And whether you continue to hold it in here or go to downstairs. But you'd only, if you decide you're going to vote on that issue, then you just take that issue up. And it's all still part of the same meeting. It's a regular meeting. You're just not going to take any action on any other items, but for the item you'd list on the agenda.
Right, yes. Yeah, we'll ensure that the agenda goes out appropriately, with
Okay.
that item on it.
So I'll make a motion to table this till the next meeting. That way we will have to act on it one way or the other. Your support? We have a motion by Chair Hart, support by Commissioner Andrea to table the purchase of the used turbine generator. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Okay, under item 7A, policy and governance, approve the hiring of Richard Kolowski and Joe Windsor for the position of plant mechanic job posting. Paul?
Chair, Commissioners, we had gone out for interviews and we had requested that we have an additional 2 plant mechanics filled. We have Joe Windsor, who applied internally, who is currently on our boiler firing line. And as soon as he is able to be moved, we'll be moving him into that position. And also, we had interviews along with the plant mechanics, and this was the second option. As you recall, we have already hired Zeb Graves, who's working out splendidly. And this is the second option who will fill that final position there.
Thank you. What will be the wish of the commission? Oh, I'll make a motion to approve the hiring of Richard and Joe for the position of plant mechanics. Is there support? Motion by Chair Hart, support by Commissioner Andrea, to approve the hiring of Richard Kolowski and Joe Windsor for the position of the plant mechanic job posting. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item 7B. Going between two different papers here. Approved declaration of vacancy for water crew and subsequent posting for 2023-02. Mrs. Dickinson?
Yes, I would like to make a recommendation to the commission tonight to advertise for internally and externally at the same time 2 water mechanics. Currently, the crew's been operating at about half staff, and I'd like to take the opportunity to go through recruiting and training one time in 2023 versus potentially twice, hence the recommendation for 2 water mechanic apprentices. Currently, the water mechanics there's a good portion of the work for the reactive work that they're doing is contracted out, and as we're replacing equipment and sorting through those issues, we're ready to start tackling that ourselves again. And I think that this would be a good opportunity to implement some efficiencies in our onboarding. Is typically the internal posting period is executed first, the 10 days prior to going external. But again, with the timing of the meetings, I'd like to stack internal and external at the same time, just to ensure that if we do have internal interest, that we can move on that quickly and get that to a recommendation at the next commission meeting.
Okay. So to kind of consolidate that, we just want to post for 2 water mechanic position apprentices?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. I would make a motion that we post and advertise for 2 water mechanic apprentices. Is there support?
Support.
A motion by Chair Harris, support by Commissioner Garrity to post and advertise for 2 water mechanic apprentices. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Next item will be 7C.
And that one's
Approve
mine.
the declaration of vacancy for meter department and subsequent posting.
That one's mine as well. So earlier in the consent agenda, you did accept Tom McGuire's resignation for retirement, and we'd like to replace him. And I would also like the commission to consider as well internal and external advertising to start tomorrow as well for 1 meter reader.
Thank you. So I would make a motion that we advertise and post for the meter department. Is there support?
Support.
Okay. We have a motion by Chair Hart, support by Commissioner Andrea to approve the posting for the meter department. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. We pulled 7D, right?
We did, yes.
Thank you. Okay. Is there any old or new business in front of us? Nothing? Okay.
None.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
We got a motion by Commissioner Andrea, support by Commissioner Garrity to adjourn the meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, everybody.